So, you're an NPC judge?
Mm-hmm.
You're an NPC judge?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I'm an NPC judge. Chet, how many points do you deduct for not smiling?
None.
I'm not sure how else to say it, but you did not get points deducted for dropping your glutes, for being too muscular, for the wrong color suit. We don't have a point system in that way. You lost preference.
Yes.
Good way to put it.
So what you did is you lost the judge's gaze for number one. And then someone else gained preference based on whatever it is that they saw, I guess is the way that I would describe it.
I think some competitors, especially new ones, when they get their score sheet and they see points, I'm not quite sure that they understand that those are placings on how we placed you. The high and the low get thrown out, and that's your score. Those are your points. And the person with the least amount of points is first, and so on. That's where the point thing comes in, but those are really placings that are added up that look like points. Does that make sense?
Well, it's you get. Go ahead.
But however, we don't start with 100 points and you get deducted for 5 points for not smiling or 5 points for a poorly fitting suit or
Forgetting your routine.
Right.
We don't even know as long as you don't show us.
We don't know your routine. And if you forget part of it, the only person that knows are you, your opposing coach, or your coach, or just you.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, if you make a face, like
We're
an
gonna know.
oh shit face, guess what?
We know now.
Everybody in the auditorium now knows you messed up.
Yeah.
And it's
Zero
okay.
people knew it
Until you did that.
face.
You told us without saying it.
And I think too, I mean, I have literally been on stage. It was probably my second or third show, and I'm doing my routine. And of course, there was only fitness and bodybuilding at that time. So I'm doing my routine. And I had practiced this routine religiously for hours on days. And music comes on and I start, everything's going. And then the crowd was like, yeah. And all of a sudden in that moment, I heard a yeah. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing next. But I had practiced it enough that I listened for a music cue. And I was like, I
didn't
just
practice
and I kept
listening
going.
for yeah.
Nobody knew. But I was sure that everyone knew, but only I knew. If you forget something on stage, it's cool. It's fine. Don't melt. Just own it. Judges really, I love it when people are like, whoops, instead of.
She did that.
Yeah.
I actually
mean,
said it. I mean, it just came out. It didn't even occur to me. I tripped.
You know, in Pittsburgh, they have that little spot in the middle of the stage.
It's like
kind
two
of
sheets of plywood butted up together
Yeah.
with carpet on top of it, and there was a separation there. And I had seen a couple people trip there,
Yeah.
so I knew to be careful
Right.
of it. But at wherever I got moved in the placing, all of a sudden, when I went to step, I felt
No, it was your routine, actually.
my heel was stuck down in that little divot.
oh, yeah.
And so I tried to step out of it and everything, but I tripped. And so, when you trip, you're like, and so I was like, whoops, that happened, and kept on going.
Yeah.
And I saw the judges kind of laugh.
Sandy smiled, and the person, they shook their
Because-
head and smiled and stuff.
You forget, or maybe the competitors don't even have in their realm of possibility. We're all just people. We done
Right.
tripped down some stairs before.
Right. Stuff happens.
We have slid on
We are-
ice. It happens. Typically, when that happens in normal life, you go, whoops, did anybody see that?
Right.
Hope no one saw.
Hope no one saw.
But you don't go, oh my God, I'm such an idiot.
And
you don't
be
do any of those
devastated.
things.
I mean, it's.
Yeah.
It's how you respond.
Yes.
To a negative situation.
Right.
It shows
Right.
you're a winner.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
But as far as points, ain't
no points.
point. Yeah.
No points off for tripping.
Because why? There are no points.
There are not points to be awarded or subtracted. Yeah. And I do hear people talk about, like, when comparing, usually it's not even necessarily people looking at their own scorecards. It's like fans or other competitors.
Right.
But they're like looking at people's scorecards that they admire. And they're saying, oh, well, she did only miss it by 1 point. Mm-hmm. Well, she missed it by 1 place.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the point spread is. It doesn't matter at all. It is first place, second place, all the way down to how many 16th places were you?
Right. How many 16?
Yeah, I mean, which 16th are you?
Right.
Depends on your last name.
So when we have our, we're looking at the competitors out there and stuff. Let's say you did have a point system. How much time do you spend looking at each competitor?
Oh my gosh. It depends on the number in that specific category and division.
And from the show to show.
Right. Usually the higher ranking the show, the more time I will spend really looking. And usually when you're looking, it's at a higher level. It's more about finding flaws than it is finding what's great.
Yep.
Because everybody looks great. On a regional, local level, usually you have a clear first and a clear last, and you can fill in the middle. But I will say I love watching a close competitive show where I have to really spend a lot of time figuring out which one I really, really want.
If you change your mind a couple times,
Yes.
that's the best.
And it's like, oh, dang it, she's over there and I think she looks better.
Oh,
but when she's right
but they
here,
moved her over here. And
Yeah.
oh my
But
gosh, I love
But
those.
you're describing what you're doing as a judge. You're watching.
Yes.
You don't have time to sit here.
I don't have time. I can't do math.
So this is. Can you imagine even just having a 5-point system?
No,
and
I have
having
a
to do
little
that for
symbol
every
system.
for every competitor. 2 points here, 3 points. If you do that, you're spending more time writing than evaluating.
But when you're writing, what are you writing?
I am writing things like I'll put a star with LB, star lower body, like amazing. That means great.
Like shorthand.
Or yes, I'll have a little, or I'll put a down arrow for like needs to improve or drop glutes or whatever. It's
Right, but what's the whole reason you're writing that?
those are for critiques for the athlete when they come
Boom.
after.
You don't have
Right, but
time for a points
No.
system.
but you're making your notes that you will give them for critique, but
Right.
those notes are
Right.
factoring into your placing of
Absolutely.
them because they're
Right.
things you noticed, which is why you don't have that person in third, you have them in fifth. because
Exactly.
Of the fact that they need to
If
bring up
I
their glutes or
could
whatever.
have highlighter markers at my area, I would because it would make things a lot easier for me, but I don't have time because
Right.
now that I'm
By the
older,
time
I
you
have two
uncap
different pairs
one,
of
now there's
glasses,
somebody
one
else
to
out
see your
there.
number and one to see my paper. So
Yeah.
I'm constant. I don't have time.
In some of these,
hang on
go
just a
ahead.
second. I just wanted to touch on that, like why we're writing. Because a lot of times competitors, especially if they don't place well and they thought they should have placed well, they're defeated after the show and they're starting to have that like self-conversation with themselves about like they're replaying the events of what they saw from their
Yeah.
vantage point on the stage. And well, that one judge never even looked up at me. So they didn't get to see me, and that's why I didn't place well. Or that judge was, I've heard this, that judge was doodling the whole time.
No.
We're not doodling. We're making notes to try and help you. And there's a lot of competitors. We don't want to just give you some kind of canned critique when you come. We want to give you something that's actually going to help
Tangible.
you improve.
Tangible,
So,
yes.
the things we saw in the moment that may not be showing up on your photos, that you'll never know unless your coach was watching or someone that has a good enough eye that they can spot those things. And even if they were, they may not have seen what we saw from our angle or from our spot in the judging lineup. So we're writing crucial information for your next show,
Yes.
basically. So don't be offended ever, ever, ever if a judge's eyes are down, because if they're down, they're looking at what they just wrote about you, or they're thinking about what to write because they just looked at you. We don't have anything interesting in front of us that we would be reading. We don't have any lists of your coach name, your
No.
team name. We don't
Oh my
know any
gosh.
of that information. So no, we're not going, oh gosh, Body by O has someone coming out. Let me see. I bet it's that. Oh yes, it's that one. She
Nope.
should get in a certain spot. No. We're just looking at which number matches your badge number so that we can write the critique on the right person, so that we can give you some feedback so you can go and work on it and you can achieve your goals.
One of the things as a judge, we all know, left side doesn't always agree with the right side of the panel,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. So
We can have some fights after,
so
your class is gone.
So
and-
let's just talk about a story, okay? So me and Natalie were judging. We're obviously on opposite ends of the table because our regional chairs and stuff, they want to separate us.
Right.
Couples, married couples, we don't want them talking together. We're not supposed to talk and all that kind of stuff, which is the way it should be, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And so me and another guy were on one side, and we're looking at this girl like, wow, man, that's like number like one or two. It was
Hang on,
bikini.
pause. So there's like, what, 5 to 7 of us?
Well, it could be 4 or 5 on one side and 4 or 5 on the other. Just depends on
So you
the
got your,
size.
I mean, I'm just for people
Yeah.
listening.
So you have your head judge in the middle, who typically doesn't even really judge. They're moving people around and whatnot, and you have like maybe 4 or 5 on 3 to 5 on one side, 3 to 5 on the other, and sometimes you'll have alternates. And then so we're looking around, we're deciding the placings, who we think each competitor up there should be, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or whatever. So we write down the placements, and then we send them up to the head judge, and then they're tallying these things, and that's what's going to determine the first call outs and stuff. And so the call outs come out there, and now we are evaluating the competitors. And so me and another gentleman on the side were looking at this one girl. I thought she looked fantastic. I mean, like here's your number one, if number two at the most, and looked really great. And so after everything's done, we're sitting there talking, me and Natalie,
And I wanted
the
to
judge
go to
is over.
blows. I was pissed.
Yeah, the judge is over, so now we can talk. Okay, the score's already turned in. And we were talking about it, and I told her, me and I was going to say John Doe over here. I don't want to say somebody's name out there. We had her at like number one, and she's like, what?
I did not have her in the first call
Are you
out.
freaking kidding me? Are you blind? I mean, she's like every
was
insult
so
you could think
mad.
of, she was throwing at me.
I
Like,
was
you
so
were a total
mad
dumbass.
Because from my perspective, I was on the far end
Yeah.
of the left side.
And I was on the far end of the right side.
So everything that I could see was a poster board for an eating disorder. There wasn't muscle mass. There was just...
This is the
multiple
one
times, yeah.
who had like the flat glutes from your angle.
This is
it was
her.
a young.
That's
This
her.
was a young girl who was like a power lifter. She had a lot of muscle, but she
Oh,
had
no,
like
not that one.
yeah.
Not that
So she like no glutes from the other side, but from our side, the way she was posing because of the
Zero
angle,
projection. Right.
yeah, not right. And that's another story you're talking about. But anyway, so yeah, had everything on point. And then Natalie's like, no. And there was somebody else over there like, what are you talking about?
think Karen
and me
was
and
on
him
that
were like,
one.
are you kidding me? Like, did you see what
It
I
was
see?
either Karen
Apparently
or
you
Kanji
didn't.
was over there. And
Yeah,
the girl didn't
and
have
so
any
then,
good-
so now the judging's over, so I'm able to sit by her stuff.
There's the
and
finals.
finals.
you
They
do-
came
wait,
out.
Hang on. So you do see people talking during the
Yeah.
finals because the judging's already been decided. So we are allowed to talk then. We're not changing our scores or anything like that.
If I showed you the picture, I think you were at this one. I'd have to show you.
believe so.
But so anyway, so when the girl came out, I'm like, and I saw from the other angle, I kind of like
He did. He's down in his seat. He was going, my gosh.
He did the same thing. Like, what the fuck did we do? You know. But the thing is, it's because of the angle. She posed really good on one side,
right,
and showed it, but she was hiding it from us, not intentionally, or maybe it was, but that's what you're supposed to do. But that's so that's why the left side and the right side may see different things, and when you get critiques from the judges, one judge may tell you something totally different from the other.
Don't change a thing. Come in exactly this conditioning with
so
this
it might be a good
level
idea to say, okay, where were you sitting? Might be a question they would want to ask, right? But I want to circle back to Karen on this one, because one of the things that you do, because you're a judge, you've been around, you take all that in consideration.
Yes.
How are you going to look from all angles?
Yeah.
Right. And most posing coaches, what do they focus on?
Your best side.
Well, like right from the center.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I like the girls to understand you may not ever be in the center. You might be an outlier over to the right or to the left.
Either way, you're only going to be right in front of one person at any given time.
Right. And I try and teach them how to angle in or step forward, but I also ask them, and I preface it with, you may never use your other side, but I want you to learn the other side, because you never know. You just never know.
Be prepared.
It's about having multiple tools in your toolbox so that you know in your own mind, oh my gosh, I've practiced this. We've talked about it.
I could do it in my sleep.
And I can do it in my sleep. And this is the one time where she said, you might need to be able to do your other side because of X, Y, or Z. And it's like, oh, it's Z. It's Z. And I can do it. And I don't have to think about it and look awkward. And, there's other reasons for me having my girls or guys practice both sides. It's to prevent injury.
Yeah.
Good point, too.
Because there's so much twisting involved, and I don't want people to create a muscle imbalance or an injury. And as you get closer to a show, your chances of injury go up tremendously. So,
and your treatment options for it are limited.
Very, very limited. So I like to create the balance.
That's why we have our bikini girls still train chest a little bit.
Yeah, it's just I want them to have balance and understand that if you're always torquing your body to the left because that's your good side, you need to be torquing your body the other way. It's why injuries happen.
Right. If you're always turned this way, these are always stretched out.
Right.
Which means by virtue of these always being stretched out.
Right. These are always
tight.
Contracted and shortened.
Yep.
So you have to be able to get it all the way around, or you're going to have pain in the low back here.
And that's going to travel to your hip or your shoulder
and
or
secondary
and travel
muscles.
to the knee
and
why
the
am I
ankle
having
and the
knee pain
foot.
when I'm doing such and such. I haven't tweaked my knee at all. Well, it's because of the way you were posing.
Yes.
I mean, it can
And the
literally trace
posing,
back to little
let's
things
say,
like that.
it don't feel good, especially when you're brand new. And there is an art to it, and there is a method to the madness, and professionals make it look easy.
That's right.
And
that's
so
like natural,
that's
like
your
you don't
job
even
as
have
a
to think about
competitor
it.
to try to get
Right,
it
and
to where you can make it look easy.
at this level, we are able to know where that comes from, where that twist comes from, and how to communicate how to get that twist instead of just listening. Well, I can't twist. You can twist. You're just not good at it right now.
You're not born with doing certain skills.
Right. And
it's a skill.
Right. And you're in a sport that requires you to fucking twist.
A lot.
A lot.
Guy or
It's
girl,
like
doesn't
a
matter
basketball
anymore.
player saying I can't shoot.
Right.
Well, I play other positions, but at some point you're going to need to be able to shoot.
to shoot that technical
Because
foul.
if
That
you, right,
that's
if
right.
you
Make a
get
difference.
fouled, you're going to have to go up there, and the entire team is counting on you to be able to make that shot.
Right.
So even though you don't do that, or in baseball you play in the
Yep.
outfield, you still have to know how to throw. You need to know how to catch.
Yes.
You need to know how to fill in other positions.
More tools in the
Here,
tool belt
you gotta
you
learn
have.
how to do it all.
You know, you'd rather have too many than not enough, because the one time you need something, it's not there, you're screwed.
You are. And it's a helpless feeling,
Yeah.
you know, but
And that's when the face shows it.
yes.
Oh,
And the
yes.
posture.
Yes.
Everything.
And
It just-
everything shows it.
Yes.
And there is nothing worse than watching a girl who poses amazingly one way and then she gets put off to the side
You can't do it over there.
and you can't really see her, but she won't pose the other side because she doesn't know how. And she, you know, she's got people yelling at her, you know, and, you know, do this, do that. And she's already devastated that she's moved from the center to the out. And, you know,
And that's a good, I'm going off on a tangent here, but if you get moved to the far side of either end of the lineup, never let your face and your posture show that you just got moved to fourth or fifth, because you could have been first and we may be done with you and
Right.
trying to compare for, well, we're not sure who's second or third. And we already clearly know she's
Some judges
first.
do that.
But
Yes.
if you then let your posture relax
Can
and
unsee it.
show your flaws, and even just show that you're a poor sport, that's we are human. That's going
Yeah.
to put a poor taste in people's mouths.
And it may not
They'll
be
remember.
intentional, but just subconscious. I mean, seriously, you know, if you're having to decide between this person and somebody else, it could subconsciously come in there. You can't unsee something
Yeah.
like
no,
that.
you can't unsee it.
But something else that she does well that I don't think I've really seen anybody else is how to pose soft and how to pose hard.
Yeah.
This I
I
saw
learned
this
that from Kim.
I'm liking him. I always like him. I'm liking him more and more and more. I see where why he is the way he is and good at what he does. But you know, I saw it when she was working with Amanda. You know, in was it
Virginia.
Yeah, it was Virginia. And keep in mind, anybody watching, they had all only worked together online. Never
Online.
met.
Yep.
Never met. But so in tune with each other. It was the night before the show, and Karen's giving her all the cues and stuff. And I'll actually have this the link to this, you know, so people can see it.
Yeah.
And she started telling Amanda how to, not even showing just yet, telling how to pose soft and pose hard and why she would need to do
Right.
it. And then you went over there, gave her one little touch here and there and stuff. And then for real, she nailed it. I mean,
Yeah.
pose hard, boom, pose soft, boom. Who teaches that?
You know,
There, I'm sure there are people,
Right.
but I don't see it.
for
A
me,
lot.
it's
But it's necessary.
what I learned from Kim. You know, among many, many things, this would just be one of them, is that you need to pay attention to who's your judging panel, B, what are they gravitating towards for this particular show? And this is kind of a spin-off of like, where's the divisions going?
Right.
Yes,
Well,
it
you
all
don't-
ties together.
Judging
You
trends
can't
and
just say that this is what they're picking this year. You can't.
You got to be this
And
lean or this hard.
You as an athlete or you as a coach need to be sitting out and watching the divisions prior to you and going, wow, they're really going for the bigger, harder look, or whoa, they're really liking the softer look.
everyone
athletes-
that's really hard is getting
And-
moved to the edges.
Yes.
Your athletes-
That's your
That-
cue to pose softer.
To pose, and we called it posing down.
Yeah.
Pose down. And
So you had to do that for bikini.
right. And it is
and that's how people do in crossover. People think that it's cheating, it's unfair. How
No,
could someone get
it's the
first
art
strategic.
of it's strategic.
Yep.
It's the art of illusion.
Yeah.
So it isn't just showing up in the best condition of your life. It is work to go, to be ready, to sit out in front and watch what are they picking and to really pay attention. And and know that when you go back there, I'm still going to pose hard, which is what a lot of people do. They're like, I want to look as ripped as I possibly can.
Because I work real hard. And I wanna
Freaking
show it
hell.
off. Yeah.
Can tell you, I love that look.
I
I'm
do
a
too.
proponent. I
Same.
love it.
But
But there are times where that's not what they're looking for. So you gotta pose it down.
Yeah.
And
see, that's the key. It's not what you like,
No,
or
it
she
isn't.
likes, or I like, or our athletes like. The only
Opinions
that matters.
are the ones who are scoring you.
That is correct. And you hear the term, well, the judges got it wrong. No, the judges are the ultimate decision
Yes.
maker on that day.
And you could go to a
You're
show,
saying the ultimate decision maker got it wrong.
right? How about you didn't do your homework?
Yeah.
Take some
Bullseye.
responsibility.
Well, I mean,
and
people
some
forget
people,
it's a
and
sport.
let's just say we're human, right? Just like sitting on one end of the table versus the other, you will see things differently. And I think every athlete should have to sit and judge a show.
I do too.
Unless you sit at a judging table, you might want to hold your tongue.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I used to think the same thing until the first time I sat down there and I saw how much 5 feet closer made a world of difference.
But
the lights, the angles, everything hits differently.
everything means everything, but at the same time, the heaviness
Mm-hmm.
of, because you have been on stage and you know the expectations of the athletes that are up there, to sit in the judge's chair is very heavy responsibility.
It is. Because you know what
The thought,
every
the thought of
athlete...
giving someone a critique
Yeah.
weighs heavy.
It weighs heavy
Like,
because
I hate to see people come out not prepared for that show. Like they didn't come in anywhere near lean enough, or they didn't build near enough muscle for that division.
right,
Because I'm going to have to tell her that now.
yes,
And even if they didn't come in lean enough or they didn't have enough muscle, they still suffered through prep. They still sacrificed
Yes,
things for it.
they sacrificed time
worked
and money
very hard
and-
to get there. And then I'm going to tell them, you honestly look like you're starting prep tomorrow.
right.
That's crushing.
It
to
is.
someone
It is.
who has just gone through months of agony, and
But
I hate
the
to
reality...
have to say that. That's why I want to help make athletes better, whether they're mine or not.
Right.
Because I don't want them to be in that position where some judge has to crush them.
the harsh reality of the situation, those judges, they don't know, they don't care. It's not their job to even know that what you went through, how much weight you lost, it cost your relationship. You got a $2,000 suit. You paid $1,200 for this trip. All these tickets, you've spent $5,000
Guess what?
in
Everybody
the past
does.
year.
Off
You
unpaid
all
because you
these
couldn't get time off.
things. Maybe they'll give me a little.
No,
No.
Nobody
Like I said,
cares.
they don't know. They don't care. And that's not saying anything about judges. That is not their job. Their job, our job,
Yes.
is to evaluate each athlete on the stage at that time, which is why one competitor may do better in one class and come out in another one and do not so good. Even if it's two people competing against each other at the same time, it could get switched. One of them may have made an adjustment. The other one, maybe they got a little too confident and let a glute slip or something like that. It doesn't matter. It's what I see on that stage. Those few seconds I get to evaluate you, that's all that matters. And that is the reality of the situation.
yes, it's the reality of the situation.
It's the reality of the sport.
It's the reality of the sport. It is the reality of your expensive hobby.
There you go again. Yep.
It is.
Right.
It is something that sometimes it's hard to explain to someone that is brand new. Because of the vast amount of shows and athletes that there are now and social media, when you don't place where you feel like you should have placed and you're new. And you keep it alive by saying, well, I can't believe I didn't make the top 5, or I think that it was political, or they just didn't like whatever. Mm-hmm. One, they're not taking any ownership of where they possibly placed. What our job is as a judge is to place you, just like we've been talking about. We don't know, we don't have any background on who you are, how old you are, what your income level is, what your job is, how many kids you have, if you're married, divorced, whatever.
Single mom of 8 kids, we don't know.
Right.
We didn't
or
know any of
you used to have a drug problem and now you don't, or you lost a leg, or how that happened. Like, we don't know your backstory. And so how you got to this stage, we don't know. And when I say we don't care, I don't mean we don't care. I mean we don't have time.
Yeah.
We have seconds to see what's on stage and judge it and look at the next class. We might hear, for instance, here in Boise and with Brad and Elaine, she
Craig
likes
production.
she likes to do the inspirational awards, and that's when you hear people's story and you can really appreciate where the athlete has come from and, you know, where they're at. Even if they didn't place, their journey to the stage was amazing.
Yep.
And I don't ever want to say no one should be on stage. That is not for
That's
me
what we
to
talked
judge.
about in another episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is not for me to judge.
But you got to have those realistic expectations.
You have to have realistic expectations and understand that there is a certain standard that we are scoring towards. We can only judge what's on stage. But there is a standard, and all across the board, we stick to that standard.
Agreed.
And we hold steadfast to that standard and stand behind what we're doing. And again, it's a heavy, heavy, heavy burden to sit at that table and see someone coming right to you, and you're like, oh, shit. Here we go.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
I just, we don't like to hurt people's feelings. And, you know, it's hard because that is not our intent. So it's a hard position to have to sit and say to somebody, so just come there with thick skin and know that everything that is being told to you is not to hurt you or make you feel bad or less than. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been told critiques on my own self. And I remember one of my pro shows, Tamer was telling me, he goes, you need to find something that when you step on stage, I don't see that in someone else who's a professional. It catches my attention.
Your it factor.
Yeah, your it factor. And I
Stand
thought,
out. Not an outlier, a standout difference.
and he goes, and I'm not saying that you don't have one. I'm just saying, show me. And I said, I hear you. I hear you.
I want to clarify too, and you did a little bit on because I kind of said that as judges we don't care, and I've kind of put it on other people. I'll refer to what I said before about for bodybuilding purposes.
It's
For
not
your evaluation, those things, it doesn't matter on the scoring. As the individual, a person, absolutely, because we do want people to be healthy. We want them to enjoy it and get value out of what they do. But when it comes to judging, that stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just what we see right then and there.
I would rephrase it from we don't care to it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
So it's absent information.
Right.
Good point.
We
Yes.
can't care because we don't know.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
know
true.
what you don't know. So what we have in front of us is
And-
these
Good way to put it.
bodies, and we're judging these bodies. And that's all the information we've got. It's all we have the standards to go off of, and we can compare everybody up there.
And that's
and
all we
place
have
them.
time for.
And that's it.
Yeah, you don't have time for anything.
I
else.
don't have time for anything. I barely have time to switch my glasses out
True.
from looking to a number to the page.
And when by the time you put your number down, you're hurrying up to get to the next one.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
and
the
you
next
got
ones are
your
out
head
there.
judge going, everybody good? Everybody good? And I'm like, just a second. I need 10 seconds,
Yep.
or
And if you're going to get your feelings hurt, and you are one of those people who didn't get anywhere near lean enough or didn't have near enough muscle mass, and so we're going to end up having to give you that feedback, the only way to avoid that, if you do show up in that condition at that show, is to just not get any feedback, which doesn't do you any good either, because then we have all these things that we could tell you, yeah, actually you need to build here, 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 and probably come in about 10 pounds leaner. Oh, okay, that's something you can work with.
yes.
That's a thing you can now go and try to achieve. But if you just place poorly and so you're devastated because you didn't even, like you're in third call out or something, so you don't go to the judging table, well, yeah, you don't get the extra hurt feelings from us telling you exactly why we didn't place you higher, but you also don't walk away with any value from that show. You have nothing to work to, nothing to work towards.
You know, I like it. I like it when a competitor comes up to me and says, "Be as harsh as you can." I'm like, oh, it's not like
That's what we tell our
No,
clients.
it's not like you're looking
like oh,
to
well,
say,
I want to
have a-
rip them
break
off.
it
It's
down.
like
Right.
It's like oh, this person.
Yes, this person
gets
is
it.
hungry. Yeah.
He or she is hungry. They get it. It's like now we're about to have a conversation because they're prepared for it.
Yes.
They're not there to look and for somebody to say, "Oh, you did great," "Oh, you whatever."
Right.
They're wanting, "How do I get better?"
Yes.
Man, that is like music. That's like somebody saying, "I'm not ready. I don't want to start prep. I want to build longer."
yes.
It's like that's like gold mine.
Yes.
Stuff doesn't happen that often, but I love it. Her first show. That's what I told her to go up there, to say those exact words. I said, "They'll be harsh." And I don't remember who it was you went to first, and they were like, "Okay."
Yeah. Here we
yeah,
go.
well, somebody I had to say it 3 times.
Yep.
They kept being like, "Oh no, you look great."
Yeah, and
Well,
then finally
thank
he
you.
said,
I'm not
"Okay."
here for
Yep.
that though. I can go to my family for them to tell me that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate it. But what could be better?
Yeah, it's finally when they said, "Okay."
I want to improve. Everybody can improve. Miss Olympia has a thing she
Right.
can improve on. What could be better? Okay, well, you want me to be honest? Yes.
yes.
Yes. That's the only way I get better. Tell
Yes.
me. So, yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just words. It's just words, and you can take it or leave it. That is your choice.
Right.
Take it or leave it. And if you don't agree with some of it, that's fine. Just leave it. Just leave it. But take what is tangible information for you to take back to your coach and make a plan.
Right.
Agreed.
And that plan is you listening to your coach when they say, "Hey, maybe we should wait a little bit," or "Hey, let's go in a couple weeks. Let's go after it."
Yeah, and if you get feedback from some judges that say you needed to be a lot leaner or you needed to build a lot more, and that prep began with your coach telling you, we really need to build some more or something like that,
Yeah.
or maybe this show isn't going to
Right.
be the right one because you're not going to be able to get lean enough, and you insisted, perhaps realize that your coach was trying to steer you correctly and
Right.
put a little bit more stock into it next time. So,
You good on time?
yeah, it's about time.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Okay, wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Just know
Go ahead.
that good coaches will have your back. It isn't, yes, that's how we make a living. However, your health and how you do on stage is of utmost importance.
Absolutely.
And
oh, sorry.
so, yeah.
Quick final thought, quick, and then I'll give my quick one.
Always ask for feedback. I don't care if you won the overall. Always ask for feedback. You likely have other goals outside of that show, it probably wasn't your stopping point. So ask for feedback.
Coaches really like to get people on stage. So if you have a coach that's saying you need to wait longer, you better fucking listen. Because that's a good coach.
Oh yeah.
No coaches, we want to get you out there. So if they're saying hold back, you better listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's never going to be just in the coach's best interest for you to wait. If they're saying to wait, there's a reason.
There is a reason. There's always, and usually a coach that is saying, I think we need to not, or we need to wait, that means they're considering your health and your longevity in the sport. The sport can chew you up and spit you out really fast.
Seen it. You've seen it a lot.
Oh, I've seen it a lot. But I competed for 30 years. So 20s, 30s, 40s, and right at 50. So, it can be good to you or it can not be. But the good ones will help groom you to have longevity in this space. Even if you're not competing, right? Here we are, still kicking.
Agreed.
Maybe one day.
Still kicking. I'll be here with my cane one day.
And you're going to look good doing it too.
Oh my
And
God.
that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.